second of it.
Oh, TMS Fab, it's a thankful Thursday. You're watching the morning show on ETV. It's so good to be back with you. Thank you so much for staying with us. And today we're going to be tackling a topic that affects so many homes all across South Africa, millions of young South Africans, that is. And this is how tertiary education can help prepare our youth for this fast evolving tech-driven job market. Joining us via Zoom this morning is Dr.Deonita Damons, no stranger to the show. She's a director at Boston City Campus, to share her expert insights on whether our educational institutions, the varsities, the tertiary institutions, the higher learning institutions, are keeping pace with this rapid change that we see that is brought on by AI and digital transformation. Dr. Damons, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Jose, and welcome to your viewers, and thank you for having me again. Sorry I'm not there in person.
It's always so good to be chatting to you, and as long as I'm talking to you, it's fine, whether in person or via Zoom. But let's maybe start off with, how can I say this? Painting a picture of the reality of South Africa, right? Now, based on the latest quarterly labor force survey, youth unemployment still seems to be so high, and it's very concerning. It may seem like it's a long shot to ask this question, but maybe you've got some better insight. What do you think is the contributing factor that keeps this issue to be so persistent?
Well, first of all, although there was a decrease, you are absolutely correct in the fact that the number of youth that are unemployed is still so alarming, and it is a ticking time bomb, actually, because if we don't do anything about it, it's just going to increase the problem that we have. But I think the contributing factors to the high unemployment rate, especially amongst the youth, could be possibilities like skills mismatch, in the sense that what we produce is not what the market needs, or what we produce has changed so much that by the time the product or the person goes out there with the skills, those skills have become obsolete. Another factor is also obviously economic constraints, because it is a difficult economic period that we're going through, and some companies find it hard to employ at this point in time, and the economy is constricted. There's also barriers of entry into higher education. Although we've got a lot of people going into higher education, there's still a lot of students that don't have access to higher education. And that's where tertiary education should make a concerted effort of making sure that people can gain access to higher education. And I think another factor is the geographical disparities, in the sense that there's a lot of urbanization where people move from the so-called rural areas, and they don't see that there's possibly opportunities in the rural areas, and therefore rural individuals or people coming from the rural areas are more disadvantaged than those placed in the urban areas.
Yeah, and I want to double click into the first point that you say might be a contributing factor. Just speaking about the fact that by the time someone graduates, a lot of what they've learned may be obsolete and mean absolutely nothing, because there's been so much evolving happening within the different institutions and different sectors of society. Let's speak towards those tertiary institutions, the colleges, the varsities, the tertiary institutions. How well are they doing, South Africa's ones especially, in adapting to this rapid change, especially brought on by technology and AI and other emerging things?
I think our public institutions and our private institutions, or all our institutions of higher learning, are making concerted efforts to try and keep up with the demand in terms of AI and the evolution of skills. But they are also constrained by regulations, because even though they would like to roll out accredited programs as soon as possible, they have to go through a process to do that. And often that process takes such a long time that by the time they are able to offer that program that they intended on offering, what they wanted to include is already obsolete. But they do make concerted efforts, and what they now do is they're now looking at other programs or other modes of offering. So instead of full qualifications, short programs that provide immediate skills and transference of skills on the youth, so that they are able to be work ready immediately. I think institutions, and if I look at our institution like Boston, we actually advocate digital literacy as part of our curricula, so that we can make sure that when the person comes into the mode of higher education, we actually prepare them to become digital, because we often assume that somebody coming from any other institution or background is digitally literate, and they're not. Yeah. So I think educational institutions should make the concerted effort of including digital literacy in their curriculum, regardless of the qualification that they offer.
I mean, I remember there was a time, Dr. Deonita, where you would put on your CV, they would check if you're proficient with MS Word. It was be a key time then, and just your ability to be able to use the computer. But so much has evolved since checking your proficiency with MS Word. For the youth today wanting to thrive within the technology-driven job market, what do you think are some of those essential skills that they need to ensure that they have beyond the bar of MS Word?
Well, you're right when you say MS Word. There was MS-DOS too, but you're too young to remember MS-DOS. I think nowadays when you put on your CV, you need to be able to say that you understand, or you need to be able to demonstrate that you understand the digital world, the automation of the world. It's how you present your CV, what you include in your CV. Are you active on social media? Because that also shows your digital literacy. Are you engaging in social media? And I'm not talking just about posting TikTok or watching TikTok, but are you actually using social media to your benefit? So part of your skill set should be how you use AI, how you use digital literacy to advance your competencies and to present yourself as a suitable candidate for your possible employer.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because sometimes your potential employer is being able to see how you engage online and how that will communicate a lot of how you understand this. But also at the same time, there's some people that's kind of going, okay, I see there's a gap there in missing that particular skill, not just social media, but more especially in understanding the world of technology as it's evolved into 2024, into 2025. Do you think the current curriculums that we have in tertiary institutions sufficiently address these gaps that some of South Africa's youth might be experiencing?
I think they address them to an extent. And the reason I'm saying they address them to the extent because they focus on the core skills for that specific sector. And they do incorporate digitization into their media. I think with the advent of COVID, everyone went online and it became more digital. And it forced us to become more digital. It forced our students to become more digital. And in that aspect, one of the key skills or critical skills students should have is the agility to adapt all the time. Because what you start off studying in year one is going to be completely different by year 3. So you have to have a mindset of lifelong learning so that you continuously adapt, continuously learn, and to look at other types of skills that you need. Because when I think of things like data science or data analytics, someone would say it's only for the business world, but it could be in any field. It could be in education, it could be in law, it could be in media. So look at the skills that you need and see how you can incorporate that into the career that you want.
Yeah, 100%. Dr. Damons, it's always such a pleasure to chat to you as you shed some light into what is sometimes a little bit overwhelming and scary for a lot of young people. But every time we wrap up the conversation, it's always feeling like, okay, I'm a little bit more enlightened. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Khosi, and have a great day further.
Same to you. Thank you until you come back into studio next time. Well, Team Swam, that's where we wrap up the conversation right now with Dr. Damons. And maybe you are a young person who might be thinking, my goodness, I'm still trying to get proficiency even in understanding Microsoft Word and Excel and Outlook. Well, may you be moved to realizing that it is important to be constantly curious, as Dr. Damons has mentioned, that you're ever evolving with the time. And it's clear that education plays a pivotal role in shaping our youth's future in a fast evolving world. So make sure that you stay empowered. It is a collective effort from institutions to communities, even including to families. That's where we wrap it up for this conversation right now. Don't go anywhere. We've got your news update coming up after this.